Good morning everyone, I'm Francesco Improda and I'm in charge of the tutor activities at the training center of the University Federico II of Naples, which is one of the accredited locations by SUTT for issuing the GESEA Academy certifications. Today I will show you how to correctly perform the exercises that make up the certification program. Now let's move on to the SUTT1 as part of the GESEA certification. It consists of a single exercise for which a time of 15 minutes is assigned. This exercise is also performed in pairs and I will be assisted here by Dr. Barazzo. The workstation is set up with a patented suture pad from the Academy, specifically for the certification. The starting position is like this, with the white disc featuring the 10 dots, the thread visible inserted into the X, and the two needle holders, the right and the left, in their respective hands. The purpose of the exercise is to make needle passes from the right dot to the left dot. For all 5 pairs of dots, and in one of the pairs chosen by the participant, perform an annotation with a blocking sequence. The exercise is evaluated not only for the ability to complete it within the 15-minute execution time, but also for the trauma inflicted on the pad. From the participant, and also for the participant's ability to enter the black dot and exit within the black dot. The actual blocking hold of the knot is also evaluated, which can be executed using any annotation technique. The exercise starts like this. The thread is held, the needle is detached from the X, the tip is exposed to the left needle holder, and the needle is loaded to pass the stitch. Generally, it's recommended to start with the sequence of dots that is farthest away. The needle is held, and now Paolo is taking me to the target sequence, where is the so-called verification cross made to check if the needle is mounted correctly. And at this point, we move on to passing the stitch. The main method to pass the stitch with minimal trauma is to enter very perpendicularly to the tissue with the second operator, as close as possible to the frame. You insert the needle into the black dot and with a simple wrist rotation. You exit inside the black circle. It is essential that during the takes, the needle holder tightening clicks are not carried out in a manner that is at the tip of the needle. This could potentially cause significant damage to the tip of the needle, which would lead to trauma throughout the rest of the exercise. At this point, the second operator carefully prepares the scissors and then hands them to my right hand so that I can proceed to cut the thread, leaving only a verification cue that will be used to prove the actual correct execution of the exercise. The second operator helps me by passing the needle holder again, and I move on to HO loading the needle for the next sequence. Now I'm doing the steps for the correct positioning of the needle. Once I think the needle is in a satisfactory position, I try to pass the second stitch. So I rest on the black dot, make a simple wrist rotation with a slight push. And I exit inside the black circle. The exercise will indeed be carefully evaluated based on how well the stitch has come out in the black circle. You can see that there's a small inaccuracy in this exercise. The second operator hands me the needle holder. And at this point I move on to the step of the third. This is the point where it's generally recommended having the best possible length of thread to perform the knotting. I always hold the tip of the needle. I load the needle in the position that I believe is most correct. I grip the needle and tighten the needle holder. I always follow the same procedure to pass the stitch. So perpendicular in the black, I place it a slight wrist rotation with a gentle push. An exit of the needle inside the little black dot. At this point, it's necessary to perform a sequence of locking knots. I will use the gladiator rule in this video, but it's indeed also possible to use any other knotting method. As you know, the gladiator rule is based on creating a horizon of the knot. Work as close to the base as possible, carefully performing a locking sequence that consists of a double initial knot, I grip the tail, I gently slide the knot along the tail, I cross it, and I get a double initial knot. At this point, remembering how I had the tip of the needle holder on the right, initially facing down, I make a single knot in the opposite direction to the previous one. And I carefully tighten it, and then I do the last locking sequence. In the same way of the first, always a single knot. The second operator is already preparing the scissors for me, which will replace my right needle holder. At this particular point in time, I proceed to move on to carefully executing the remaining 2 steps of the needle process. So I grip the thread, I grip the needle, I tighten the needle holder. Verification cross, perpendicular to the right dots. I enter the fabric, a slight wrist rotation with a gentle push, and I try to come out inside the black dot. The second operator is readying the scissors for me. And hands me the needle holder for the conclusion of the exercise, which therefore consists of passing the stitch at the level of the last pair of dots. Loading the needle. I tighten the needle holder at the intersection between the 2 distal thirds and the proximal third of the needle. I make the verification cross perpendicular to the dot. I tilt, rotate slightly, and try to come out. Inside the black dot, the second operator prepares the scissors for me so that I can cutting, and at this point the exercise is concluded. As the operator will show you, the exercise will eventually lead to this type of pad with the 5 steps and a complete blocking sequence. The suture pad will then be checked, evaluating the time needed by the candidate to complete the exercise. The number of stitches correctly crossed by the needle. In this case, there's an inaccuracy, so it's 9 and not 10. The correct execution of the steps, with a score ranging from 1 to 5, since there are 5 steps, and the correct execution of the knot, which is tested by inserting the tip of a pen under the knot, and the trauma inflicted on the pad.